on working animals. So basically, I will be presenting on a SAVE. But before entering into the topic, I want all of you to just imagine that you are working 14 hours a day, tirelessly, and yet you are not provided with good amount of rest. You are not provided with nutritious food, but rather you are expected to work even when you are beaten mercilessly. How would you feel? Wouldn't that be quite miserable enough for you? The thing that I'm expecting you all to assume right now is rather reality for many animals. As per research conducted, animals in Nepal are made to work nearly around 16 hours every day. That also in a very harsh conditions. They are beaten mercilessly, even when they are bleeding. So I'll be highlighting these points. I'll be talking about the working animals. What exactly are the working animals? How are they being treated in the context of Nepal? What are the laws that are existing? And how are we different? How are those laws not being able to be applied properly? What is the legal gap between the laws and enforcement? So, moving on, let's first think about what exactly working animals are. So basically, working animals are the domesticated animals which are trained in order to perform some specific tasks for the human benefits and human needs. For example, elephants are expected to go through a ritual known as Fazan ritual, especially in the areas of Chitwan. They are expected to go through a Fazan ritual, which means that the young elephants are provided with very much extreme brutal trainings, and in order to make them submissive towards them, they are separated from their mother and are made to work and are made to train so that they are efficient enough to work in the during the times of safaris. And if we look at the Animal Welfare Directive, which is actually just a guideline which was formulated in 2016. As per the Animal Welfare Directive, horses, donkeys, mules, mountain cows, elephants of all age and sex, they are supposed to be falling under the working animals. So if we look back into the history, animals have always been treated brutally. They have always been exploited and treated cruelly. So at the very beginning, they would be treated as a means of transportation. They would be used for warfare and many more. And even till the time of today, we cannot see much difference. Maybe in the developed countries, the things which were done by the animals are now being replaced by the machines. However, in the developing countries like that of Nepal, the machines are very much expensive. So people do not prefer to use those machines, but rather they would prefer to use the animals, which are much more cheaper and safer option. And that is what makes them still bear the burden of labor. In the fields, it would be in brick-laying industries, or even during the times of festivals. So those outdated practices are one of the reasons why cruelty still exists for such animals. So moving on, if we talk about a very prime example for the cruelty, we can look at the Nepal. So Nepal is one of the largest equine bazaar in the world, where nearly around it is one of the largest equine bazaar in the world, where the animals such as equines, such as the donkeys, the mules, the horses, they are brought from the India and they are sold there. And nearly around over 6,500 of the animals, 6,500 equines, they are used in the brick-laying industries, they are used in the milk centers. So that is one of the reasons why every year nearly around 25 donkeys die due to overexhaustion, because they are made to work even till the point they are physically and mentally completely exhausted. So looking at all those issues, we might be wondering that yes, government must have done something in order to regulate these activities, or maybe because especially when Nepal is also a state member for WOH, that is World Organization for Animal Health. However, it is a matter of shame that there is only a directive, that is the Animal Welfare Directive, that is a guideline. As we all know that Animal Welfare Directive being a guideline can only provide a basic framework and not some kinds of strict, there are no penalties for it. It is not authoritative in nature. So there is only Animal Welfare Directive. There are penal codes which talk about the animals, about the rights of the animals and the cruelty done against animals. However, it does not include the overworking of animals, or maybe how they are brutally treated, overexhaustion of them, the mental and physical exhaustion that they have to go through, and even the responsibilities of the owners that they would have when they are taking care of an animal. They should have certain rights and responsibilities. However, the responsibility part is completely ignored in any of the penal codes or any of the laws of Nepal. So, as in all, we can know that Nepal actually lacks a proper binding Animal Welfare Act. Moving on, when I did research, I had used two sources. First is primary source, and the next one is secondary source. For the primary source, we had a visit to Chitwan and also had an interview with Deputy Mayor, Ward Chairperson of the Bharatpur Municipality of Chitwan, and did surveys, had a visit to SAVE-Nepal, and for the secondary sources, we visited various kinds of websites and referred to national and international laws, legal scholars, and media. So what did I actually find from those sources? There are three major findings. The very first one is Nepal's laws recognize cruelty but do not prevent cruelty. Like I've already said, there is an animal welfare directive which shows that maybe till some extent the cruelty is recognized. However, there is no proper laws. The animal welfare directive was it was formulated in 2016. However, by the time we have reached 2025, no bills have been tabled, and by even till this time, there has been no laws passed. And finally, animal welfare, multi criminal code, like I've already explained, there are no proper penalties. The overworking of animals has not been mentioned. And if we compare with our neighboring country, India, which has similar kinds of beliefs, similar kinds of cultures and traditions being followed, there is the PCA Act, which means the PCA Act, which was actually formulated there in 1960. It was specially made for the working animals. And 5 years after the promulgation of the Act, there has been rules and regulation. That is, specifically the prevention of cruelty to draught and pack animal rules, which was made under this similar act. However, in the context of Nepal, there is only Animal Welfare Directive, which is basically just an advisory guideline and not actual law. Third major finding that we found is awareness but ignorance. Let that be individuals, let that be the government. They're all aware that animals are treated cruelly and they should be protected. They should not be left abandoned. However, everybody ignores it because they feel that it is not a matter of their concern. They are not being directly affected by it. So they prefer it to completely ignore these matters. As per the talk that we had with the Ward Chairperson of the Bharatpur Municipality, we found that they are well aware of the incident, like the Chitwan Elephant Festival, which is highly and internationally criticized all over the world. They are well aware about it, but however, since it brings a lot amount of revenue, they would not prefer to be concerned on it, because if there is, they say that for the economic development, something needs to be sacrificed, and as per their belief, the sacrifice has to be an animal, which is a sad reality for here. Next, we have reached to the conclusion. So basically, the conclusion that I have drawn from this research is, first, working animals face systemic cruelty. Basically, systemic cruelty is due to the system because individuals are so much dependent upon the working animals that they have normalized it. That being cruel to the animals has been so much normalized to this point. And I've been mentioning this again and again, that directives need to become laws. There is a dire need to make these directives a law. Public empathy. People, I have already said, there is public empathy. However, this public empathy needs to be transformed into legal reforms. They have to be made laws. The exploitation that has been done against the animals has to be penalized. And without legal reforms, this cruelty will continue. I've also provided a survey. I'm not sure if it's quite visible. However, I've also provided the website. You can refer to it. It has showed that most of the working animals in Nepal are actually very much thin and lean, which shows that they are not provided with proper nutritious food, not proper care. So, finally, this is the last slide. So, what future works can be done? First, draft working animal welfare bill. Second, integrate animal welfare into education and training. So surely people are aware about it, but in order to make sure where they have to refer if they find or encounter such kind of extreme cruelty, where they have to refer, in order to know such things, such animal welfare subjects need to be included in education. Next is promote mechanized alternatives for poor countries, for poor communities. Like the farmers, they still use the things such as they do not use tractors but rather use oxes in order to plow the field. So it would be better if the government provided some kinds of incentives in order to use those tractors or machines, maybe providing a loan to them while for buying those kinds of machines instead of being dependent completely upon animals. Promote mechanized Next is partner with global animal rights organization, and finally government should incentivize an end to animal cruelty. One of my recommendations for the same is mahouts who work in safaris, basically they torture animals in a way or two. They can be incentivized by providing better job facilities in the sanctuaries. They can be made involved in sanctuaries. They can be incentivized to work in the elephant sanctuaries. I guess in this way we can provide a better world for the animals to live in, and that is it for my presentation. Thank you, everyone.